It's week 3 of my 1-year experiment, and I discovered that I had been standing in front of a fully stocked medicine cabinet while frantically searching for a cure. The medicine was MEMO. The cure was my own work. And I almost missed it because I was too deep in the goo to see straight. Welcome back to the bet. Every journey starts with a choice, and mine is a bet. For 1 year, I'm gambling on energy over strategy. No more forcing and no pushing. Just the courage to show up and see what happens when reality becomes my playground. This isn't a podcast. It's a real-time experiment in the lab of my life. Welcome to the bet. I need to tell you something about who I am before we dive into this week's mess. I am a shit together kind of person. Always have been. I pride myself on being someone who, if she decides to do something, she does it 100%. When I commit fully. When I show up completely. That identity has served me very well. It has gotten me through multiple degrees, built multiple businesses, transformed my body, created hundreds and hundreds of hours of content. But there is a shadow side to being a shit together person that I'm just now starting to see clearly. Sometimes that identity blocks you from shifting. You grip so tight to doing things right that you can't let yourself dissolve into something new, something better. Sometimes you have to be willing to release the grip on perfection, to let yourself not know what's happening, to be okay with things being messy while they transform. And this week, the universe decided to test every part of that grip. This is by far the busiest week of my life that I can remember. I am serving 3 or 4 different audiences simultaneously. I'm redesigning an entire university class on clinical foundations, which is really all my mindset work applied to graduate students. I had this great idea that I would teach them all about value systems, about how to go about installing a professional identity into their brain's operating system. I am teaching them how to navigate that operating system, the one that always wants you to do the least amount possible when you're trying to accomplish something significant. In their case, they're here to earn a master's degree. So I've taken up this challenge and I love it. I want them feeling like they have the exact tools to maximize these next 2 years and come out the other end with a brand new identity that serves them for the rest of their lives. Instead of just suffering and pushing through the next 2 years, just enough to pass the next test. So I'm conservatively spending, I would say, 10 hours a week just on this class, mapping out lectures, designing assignments, reviewing the research, creating summaries so they don't have to wade through all this complex scientific literature. Plus, I'm supervising 6 second-year grad students in clinic right now. Plus, I had to prepare for my monthly mindset coaching call, where for some reason, I decided this was the call to bring the heat with a module on how to actually get coached, how to be coachable. Because I see so many people working with coaches and not extracting the full value that they could be getting. Add to that, I'm recording memo episodes, doing the bet, showing up on Instagram with my simplified approach, which is, by the way, working brilliantly. It's taking almost no effort, and it is allowing me to show up 100% of the time instead of with 100% effort, if that makes sense. And then there's this other layer. Right now, I am on day 13 of a 30-day money challenge with my coach. It's not your typical money challenge. This one has layers upon layers upon layers of digging into our stories around money. And usually, historically speaking, I don't stick with challenges. I get bored, or I feel like I don't really have enough time to do it full justice. So I tell myself I'm going to catch up, but then I don't. I get distracted. And then I convince myself I'll come back to it and start over from the beginning. But this challenge has been different. I have tackled it with full effort every single day because this time I decided I want my damn results. So to sum it up, I am deep in what I call the goo state right now. And in case you haven't listened to MEMO, let me explain what the goo state is. The goo is what I call this neurochemical state when your brain can't predict what's coming next. When you've unlocked a new layer that is so new, so unfamiliar, your prediction machine of a brain just glitches. You feel like you've been dissolved into cellular soup and something new is forming, but you have no idea what it is because you just can't see it yet. So my brain keeps asking, is this really what you want? Are you really doing all of this? Because I've had to dig into reserves I didn't know I had, reserves beyond reserves. It's not just the, I said I'd do it, so I'm going to do it energy anymore. It's the, is what I'm doing even making a difference energy? And while we're on the topic of everything going on this week, we're in eclipse season, right? And from what I'm reading, it's a doozy. I mean, if you were anywhere near Instagram this week, you can't miss it. Everyone's talking about this solar eclipse, how nobody's coming out the other side of this thing unchanged, right? So we have this heaping dose of cosmic chaos energy on top of everything else going on. So Sunday night into Monday morning, the mistakes started showing up in my life and cascading. First, an email catastrophe. We transitioned from irresistiblemindcom to thinklaura.com. It's been a brand switch. And somehow, even though we still have the full Google business platform, the Irresistible Mind email just quit working. And that email is where our responses go. So I'm sending out this important message to the MEMO subscribers about transitioning to a new platform. It was not a promotional email. I genuinely needed people to respond. But their replies are still apparently going into a void. Some people got notifications that their messages weren't going through to me, but most people didn't. They think they're communicating with me and I'm getting nothing. Sunday night, I'm lying there doing my red light therapy, trying to relax into my evening, and it hits me. I wonder if the wrong email is linked. Of course it is. That turns into 2.5 hours with tech support, and as of today, it's still not working. We have had to send out 3 separate emails. People are getting bombarded, and now they're confused about what to do. And here's the thing, it's still not fixed. Half the people I haven't heard from. They might have responded and I'll never know. Then Monday morning, I publish a MEMO episode like always, except this time I accidentally published the unedited version. So it had all my retakes, my restarts, the messiness of creation, the parts that usually get cleaned up. It's all there for everyone to hear. And I'm someone who doesn't make mistakes like this. That is not who I am. Or at least, that's not who I thought I was. So I'm sitting there Monday morning, a few hours later when I realized it happened, with this intense feeling of, oh my God, people are going to think I don't have my shit together. And I do. Like I said at the start of the episode, I am a shit together kind of person. The evidence is everywhere in my life. But these mistakes are piling up and they're happening very close together. And they're happening around things that really matter to me. It's interesting. I make more mistakes around my parents too. Maybe because I care so much about them knowing how much I value who I am and the work I have put into my life. And I care very much what they think about me. So the universe seems to ensure that I make mistakes exactly where I most want to appear Perfect. Then Tuesday morning arrives with its own special gift. A MEMO subscriber cancels. Now look, people cancel subscriptions all the time. It's part of business. But Tuesday morning, in the middle of all these mistakes, in the depths of the goo, it sent me into a tailspin. Not a massive one, but enough to trigger that voice that said, what am I doing? Does anyone even want this work I've been building so diligently for the last year and a half? It crystallized this creeping feeling I've been having. Is this thing I'm creating valuable to anyone else but me? I started thinking, maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. All these technical problems with MEMO, now someone leaving, maybe I'm on the wrong path. Maybe I should quit putting my energy there. Maybe I'm supposed to put it somewhere else. And as I say this right now, I still don't know if that's true. Is it a message to change course? Or is it a message to persevere and build confidence around what I've built? Or is this just reflecting back my own doubts about its value? The pattern seems to be the universe makes things harder in the exact areas I care about most. So there I am, Tuesday morning, spiraling about this cancellation on top of everything else. And I made a decision that changed everything for me. I decided to use my own work. It was a reluctant decision, but I was in a funk, and the smart ass in me said, okay, girlfriend, let's see if your shit is really good. Let's see if it can fix this little fuck loop of yours. Yes, I do talk like that, and better, you know that now. So I went to MemoBot, which is this AI tool I built for MEMO subscribers. And it's not just some basic chat bot that stores all my episodes. Because like I said earlier, if I decide to do something, I go all in. So I took a week of vacation to build this thing, to drill down and really map it out. I spent a solid week coding it, hours and hours and hours. I barely came up for air. It's like something took over me, like a motor just turned on and I dove in completely. I wanted a tool that would act like me, as if I were sitting down with you to have a coffee and dig underneath the layers of whatever you feel stuck on. Something that would help uncover the pattern or the belief that's really behind the problem you think you have. And then it goes ahead and prescribes a specific episode arc, depending on where you're at. I mean, I must have something like 100 pages of coding instructions on different patterns to look for. So I went to MemoBot and I typed in, I just had a subscriber cancel and I'm in my head about it. I don't know what to make this mean. And we went back and forth for a few minutes and it prescribed 3 episodes. And in my current caca headspace, I thought, this isn't even going to do anything. I already know these episodes. This one isn't even related to what's going on. And then I heard my own voice cut me off and say, Laura, just take your own fucking medicine. So I listened to the episodes while I was working out. And you know that fear you have when you're about to hear your own voice? You're going to hear your own work? That fear that you're going to be cringing on it, that's not going to hold up, especially when you're already in a nasty headspace. Well, I listened and oh my God. I was like, this is so good. This is exactly what I need to hear. And not just good in a, ooh, that's nice kind of way, but in a, this is absolutely plugging me back into who I am, what I'm capable of, why I do this. And now I'm ready to move forward again. It reminded me of everything. It reminded me that this work is real. The transformation is real. The value is undeniable. I remember something my last business coach, Carly, who's amazing, taught me. She said that your confidence must match your competence. You can fake confidence, but your competence doesn't lie. And listening to those episodes was a solid dose of my own competence, staring me right in the eyes. I know what I'm doing here. I belong here, doing this thing. That moment solidified my decision. MEMO is done being a low-cost subscription. It is going to be a standalone product. And at $300, it's a fucking bargain. It should honestly be more, but I'm really trying to find this sweet spot where it still feels accessible and yet it's still enough of an investment that people will actually use it. We talked last week about reciprocity, so that's what I'm trying to figure out as we go here. So listening to my own episodes, taking my own medicine, something else became clear. I see the women who I've worked with take some of the things we've talked about and run with it, build their own businesses, transform their lives. Multiple women. The evidence is there. But I also see many more who don't do it, who start and drop off, who let their old stories stop them. And that's really hard for me. It truly breaks my heart. It makes me so sad to see people quit on themselves. And I have been letting that mess with me. It brings back all these childhood feelings of not being enough, of needing to prove my worth through exhaustion, through giving more. So for me this week, the question ended up not being whether or not the work I do is valuable. The question ended up being, can I get people to actually use it? Can I get them to take the medicine that's already in their cabinet? Because that's what I realized. Sometimes you forget you already have the cure. You're searching around for some new solution when the aspirin is right there in your medicine cabinet. So I keep taking my own medicine, keep stacking my grains of sand. And by Friday, something shifts. Friday morning, I'm standing in front of 47 graduate students. Week 4 of this new class I have poured my soul into. Some of them are watching me, but many are not. I've got some picking at their fingernails, heads in their phones, having side conversations. I'm standing there thinking, I've invested so much into this. Do they even care? When I set out to design this class, my intention was that at graduation, they would think, thank God I had that class. That was by far the most valuable class in all of grad school. And that's the energy I am definitely showing up with every single week, but I am not seeing it reflected back to me yet. So I'm walking to the parking garage afterward, and I said to the universe, just let one student reach out to me and say, this made a difference. I just need to know this work is making a difference for one person. Didn't get that. But coincidentally, I did get a ton of client love in my other business. So I'm taking that as a win. Sometimes the universe answers, just not always how we expect. What's also wild is what my husband said at breakfast to me this week. He has not listened to any of this. He barely knows what the bet is or what MEMO is. We're both so busy we barely see each other during the week. But he said, whatever you're working on right now is working. You're being a lot more direct, more confident, and bold, and powerful. So he can feel the shift even without knowing what's shifting. And he's right. Despite the goo, despite the mistakes, despite the exhaustion, or maybe because of all that, my capacity has expanded enormously. I can hold so much more now. The amount I am navigating would have crushed me a year ago. And now I'm coming at it from the angle of, how lucky am I to get to develop and hone so many different ways of communicating with people. You have so many amazing opportunities to practice building a skill set you were meant to master. You're so lucky. While everyone else is out there chasing 10x Instagram hacks and promising you'll never have to write copy again if you use their framework, while people are scaling their 7-figure businesses and cashing their checks left and right, all that noise, I've made myself busy enough that I can just say, no, I don't need any of that. And at the same time, I did make a decision to invest in something this week. I am investing in a podcast guesting course and consultation. And this investment feels different from many previous ones I've made. This one did not have a hint of, I need this. There wasn't a hint of neediness or thinking, without this thing, I won't be able to be successful. Or this thing is going to show me exactly what I'm missing. This felt like a business owner making a strategic decision about something they have decided to do. Because the people who listen to MEMO are podcast people. They tell me, I listen to this every day. This is so good. This is changing the way I think. How is it that you're in my mind? You're reading my thoughts. And I realized my products are audio products. Why wouldn't I market them on an audio stage? Something just clicked about that this week. So look, here we are at week 3 of this whole experiment, and I had no idea I would already be deep in the goo stage. I honestly thought that you and I would have a much longer getting to know you period before I had a moment where I am dissolving into a metamorphic soup. But I made a promise to show up for all of it in full authenticity. And apparently the universe decided to test that promise immediately. Everything feels sticky right now, feels messy and disorienting. Like I'm being dissolved at a cellular level and something new is forming, but I can't see what it is yet. Because the human brain is the ultimate been there, done that machine. So when you go into the goo, suddenly it has no reference point because it has never been there and it has never done that. And the fact that I cannot predict what's happening is actually proof I'm about to experience an entirely new level of existence. If my brain could predict it, there wouldn't be any goo. The disorientation is proof of transformation. How exciting is that? How lucky am I? Why would I ever want to mess with that? Look, every grain of sand on the scale counts, even when you can't see which one will tip it. You don't know, as you continue stacking your itty-bitty grains, which one is going to create the shift. You just keep stacking. I'm so proud of myself for showing up even without clarity. That means something I've never seen is on the way. Okay, so we have one more week before the first check-in. Next week is week 4, and then I'll report on all the metrics, the downloads, what's actually happening with this experiment. And I need to be honest about something. I don't even know if anyone's listening yet. Nobody, not one person, has reached out to tell me that they are. That is embarrassing to admit. It is really so embarrassing when I think about it. But then I remind myself, I'm doing this as a live experiment. Showing up for myself, knowing that somebody could be listening. Somebody could be following along this journey for the next year. I've committed to doing it, so I'm fucking doing it. Maybe this whole thing is going to allow me to get really comfortable with just showing up as is. No polish, no perfection, just the real-time mess and the magic of the transformation. If a transformation occurs, we don't even know. The shit-together person in me wants everything to be perfect before it's valuable. But maybe, I have to consider, maybe it's valuable because it's real. Because the shit-together part of me is willing to let people see the actual process of transformation, not just the highlight reel. So week 3 of the bet, and here's what I've learned. The real experiment isn't whether energy beats strategy. It's whether I can trust what I've built when I'm too deep in the goo to see it clearly. Turns out I can. I just had to take my own medicine first. Sometimes being a shit-together person means knowing when to let yourself dissolve, when to release the grip on perfect, and trust that whatever it is that we got forming here is worth the temporary chaos. The goo is going to crystallize. It always does. It will turn into something solid that you can stand on. And when it does, I will be standing on something entirely new, something my brain couldn't have predicted, something I hope was really worth dissolving for. Until then, I keep taking my own medicine, one dose at a time, stacking my grains of sand, showing up at 100% presence instead of 100% perfection. Because that's the real bet, isn't it? That showing up real beats showing up perfect. Trusting the goo leads somewhere worth going. Even if nobody's listening yet. I'm here, documenting it all, building something that matters, even though I cannot see what it is becoming. Go bet on yourself.